Today I'm going to review my favorite port finished whiskey, the Liberator Tawny Port Malt Irish Whiskey. Welcome to Four Leaf Whiskey. The Liberator Tawny Port Irish Whiskey. This is my favorite port finished whiskey. This is from Morris O'Connell and Wayward Irish Spirits. The O'Connell family has deep ties to Irish history. Morris O'Connell, founder of Wayward Irish Spirits, is a descendant of Daniel O'Connell, who was in British Parliament and was known as the Liberator. He fought for Irish rights, Irish Catholic rights, and was nicknamed by the British that Wayward Irishman, hence the name of proudly Wayward Irish Spirits. So this whiskey is the first vatted Irish malt in a good many years. A vatted whiskey is made from two single malt whiskeys from two different distilleries. The Liberator Tawny Port is made from 22% of a 2006 vintage Cooley whiskey and 78% from a 2015 Great Northern Distillery whiskey. The latter, it spent about a year in some fresh tawny port casks that Morris O'Connell sources himself from Portugal. The family has ties back to the 1400s with Portugal, where they were importing wine. This is 46% ABV, and I wanted to review batch 5 specifically because although this launched in March of 2020, I've been buying it since I think April of 2020. This one is available in the US. Wayward Irish Spirits just started bringing this one over. It is available, I believe, in New York, New Jersey right now, with plans for future expansion. You get a lot of malty notes on the nose of this, in addition to all the port. I'm getting fig, getting some cherry, some raisin, almost a little bit of like a licorice note. Definitely getting malty cereal notes. A lot of fruit right up front. Dark cherries. Figs, strawberry, a little bit of orange, just a little bit, some almond, or some vanilla. The maltiness from the whiskey still comes through, which I really appreciate about this. Sometimes they're a little overpowering, the port can be, and this one, it just balances perfectly with the whiskey itself. And there's some great whiskey in here. There's some good whiskey from Great Northern. There's some really good whiskey from Cooley. So I appreciate that the whiskey is allowed to shine through as well. Nice medium long finish. A little bit of pepper on the finish. A little bit of wood spice. A little woody on the finish. It's almost like toasted wood. It reminds me of kind of like a bourbon. Just that you get that kind of a, not really a smoky, but almost like a burnt brown sugar kind of note at the end. Nice finish. A little bit dry from the port pipes, which is expected. But not overwhelmingly so. So no need to check your screen, you aren't seeing double. The Liberator Tawny Port has had 5 releases, and they've all varied just a little bit. So I'm going to compare batch 5 with what I have that I've been saving for this opportunity, a little bit left of the batch 2 release. All of these earlier releases were a more limited number of bottles. This one was 1,000. And they've all slightly changed over each batch. And I think, honestly, they've improved each batch. So let's see how they're different. The color, honestly, is right about the same. The batch 1, it had a much more pinkish hue to it. That is something that I believe I talked to Morris, and he said they were not expecting for how much the color was going to impart in batch 1. So they've made some improvements on future batches. You get the port a lot more with batch 2. It comes through on the nose a lot more. Yeah, it's a sweeter, more figgy raisin. Whereas I'm getting more of a cherry and strawberry, more fresh berry notes on the batch 5. Batch 2 has more of the port, but I'm almost getting a tobacco note. Almost like the wood was toasted a little more. It's more of the burnt sugar, more of a tobacco-y kind of note to it. In batch 5, I'm getting more of those berry notes, this strawberry, a lot of dark cherry. More of the malty notes from the whiskey itself. Whereas the kind of the burnt sugar is toasted kind of notes, it's at the finish. It's a really nice progression from the fruit through the malt and then the cereal notes to the toasted notes that finish. The batch 2 is more, I am getting the fruit, but then it immediately goes to that toasted kind of a cigar tobacco kind of note. The finish is also a little shorter. It looks a little more oilier on the glass. I can see the tears a little bit more with the 2. That being said, personally, myself, I think I prefer the 5, which is great because this is the one that we can get in the US now. Although this one is from Ireland, you can still get it in Ireland as well. So if you're a fan of port finish whiskey, if you're a fan of single malt whiskey, I don't think you're going to do much better than the Liberator from Wayward Irish Spirits. I've been a fan since the start. You know, back in March 2020, we couldn't go to the liquor store, so I ordered a bunch of bottles from Ireland, and this was one of the ones that caught my eye, and I've honestly been a big diehard fan ever since. You can see I have several of them up there. I have their brand new release of their own distillate, the Lakeview Single Estate, also brilliant. I always said I'm going to go to Ireland one day, and I want so badly. That's the one person I want to meet is Morse O'Connell and just sit and talk with him all night. His family has just such an amazing history behind them, and he is producing such great whiskey. But I wanted to get your attention on this one because this is in the US now. This one is, like I said, in New York, in New Jersey. I think they do have plans on moving from there. As you've all heard me say, it's not exactly cheap for a smaller Irish distiller to come over here and sell. And Wayward Irish is one of the smaller distillers, but they're one of the ones that I appreciate because they are putting attention on detail, and they're putting attention in quality, and they're putting their name behind some really great product. I'm not sure what the Liberator Tawny Port is going to retail for here in the US. In Ireland, at the shops, it's about $57 US. It's reasonably priced, 46% ABV. This is honestly my Christmas time drinker. I bust this out every year at Christmas time. I make bread pudding, and actually Morse O'Connell and Wayward Irish Spirits are the ones that gave me the idea to soak the raisins in the Liberator Tawny Port overnight before you make your bread pudding. Game changer. So good. The other thing to watch for from Wayward Irish Spirits are these little bottles. These are worth their weight in gold. These are their storehouse special bottles. And these are always special cask finishes or are bottled at cask strength. So if you're looking for just an absolutely brilliantly done Irish whiskey that is finished in port cask from a family with an amazing Irish history themselves, check out the Liberator Tawny Port from Wayward Irish Spirits. Sláinte.